I work as an IT guy. I got so much crap. I said, yeah, I'm gonna buy me a synth that was made in 1984. And they're like, what? And I said, yeah, you know, those synth that was used in Top Gun and, you know, Kenny Loggins and Danger Zone, you know, that thing. They just gave me so much crap. It's like, why would you want to buy synth? We hate 80s. It's like, you gotta put it in perspective here. They all listen to country and Irish music.
I'm gonna fight you with everything I have.
There's this new thing, it's sort of like Craigslist, eBay, but it's called Facebook Marketplace. And so there's like an app or something like that. It's sponsored by Facebook, and you can basically go through, you know, normal Facebook users that are selling stuff. And this guy was selling a DX7, and he had a really original DX7. Well, I would say it's probably about, the year was 84 when it was built. That's what I saw on the sticker. 1984. Now, I just bought this, and this is 2018. Why would I buy a DX7? Well, first of all, I grew up on the soundtrack, the Top Gun soundtrack. You know, with Kenny Loggins, Berlin, you know, all those things. They were all created with this thing. The other thing was the versatility of it. There are thousands upon thousands of Sysex patches for this thing, and the possibilities are limitless as far as the different type of sounds. Yeah, there are certain Sysex patches might be similar to others, you know, because they do have that twangy belly kind of FM sound, because this is an FM synth. However, the one thing that I do like about the synth is once you start tweaking it and you put some FX on it, you can really get some gnarly sounds. And I'll show you how you can get some of these gnarly sounds for this thing. I mean, nasty, gnarly sounds out of this thing. Because that's the cool thing about FM, is it's just great for those gnarly, nasty sounds. So, I'm laughing because I'm so excited because I just got to show you this. I can't wait to show you this. So, anyways, let me explain one more thing about this. It is mono. So you're going to come out, and it only does mono, which is fine, you know, because back then, I guess this is the only way they made it. I do have two MIDIs. You could say, there's not that much light over there, but I don't know if you can see that, but there's two MIDI ports, the gray and the red, and it's very finicky. I don't have the upgraded ROM chip. I did order that, and that's supposed to fix the MIDI memory issues. But I did find a way to get around it for now, and hopefully, you know, it'll work out when I record this video. So that's all I did, is I hooked up the MIDI. I got that going into just a regular MIDI 80 face, and it's going into Logic. Now, I have videos about how to connect that, so that's not what this video about is today. But I wanted to do is I wanted to show you how I'm getting these gnarly sounds. Oh yeah, just one more thing. I have my audio. You can see my audio cable over there. I have that coming out, and it's going into my input right here on the, I have an old Lisa's Firewire mixer. And that is interfacing into the computer, which is this big mess of a crap thing right here that I got. I turned a Mac Pro 1, a 1.1, and I turned it inside out. And I kind of like it. It's like my version of artwork, okay? Anyways, different story for another day. I might do something about that if you guys are interested. So, you know, let me know in the comments if you want to see more about this ugly-ass Mac Pro that I got torn apart, ripped up inside out. Anyways, back on track about the gnarly, nasty sounds that we're going to make from this guy. That said, let's go back to the computer. Going to the computer. The computer, yeah. And I want to give a shout out to DeXed for making this amazing free plugin on how I'm able to get some of these gnarly sounds. Is I'm using DeXed Editor Synth Sysex Librarian. This one is probably the best one out there that I've, not because it's free, because I would have paid some money for it to get a really decent one, but I just found that everything that I needed to do and how I needed to do it, this thing offered it, and it was very stable. Some of the ones I had just weren't stable because of the MIDI issues with the memory on this older synth. It just had such a bad MIDI issue with the earlier chipset. However, these guys really made it happen for me. So thank you, DeXed. You guys have really done great work on that. The other person I want to say a big thank you to was a guy named Mike out of Winchester. VA. He's the one that hooked me up with the DX7. He basically sold it to me for a very good price, about $300. He's a drummer by trade, and he's been drumming his whole life. And they call him Big Mike out of Winchester. And if you ever meet him, just say hi or buy him a beer. But I just want to give a big shout out to him. He also hooked me up with a stand and some pedals, and just really hooked me up. So thanks, Mike. You're awesome. You can see right now I have DeXed up, and DeXed is very easy to install. You just basically go to their website. You know, I'm using it Mac. I actually found the Mac version to work better. There was a bug in the PC version where it wouldn't want to connect to my MIDI ports, but the Mac version, no problem. And, you know, you just, click on that and it'll download it. And all it is it's a component, like an Apple component, and you just put it in your component files and then you restart Logic. That's it. It's like a VST file or whatever you want to call it, but it's an Apple-based AU file for Apple. And when you open up DeXed, it looks like this. Really cool program. If I play it. Almost right on as far as the sounds that you get from a DX7. I would say that the DeX is maybe a little bit more brighter and a little more harsher in the difference. There's a guy who does an excellent review, and I'll link that in my show notes or whatever. So in DeX, you're going to see there's a little thing right here. It's called parameter. And in parameter, I'm just going to pick, I have DX7. So where did I get this value DX7? So let's go over here and I'll show you. Window. Show MIDI window. Okay. So in my MIDI window here, you're going to see I have this guy right here. This is a MIDI port I can hook up to 4 different keyboards, and I have this hooked into USB into my Mac. And then from there, I have my DX7 with both in, you go in to out and out to in. It's always opposite, out to in and to out for your MIDI. And that's how you hook up your MIDI for a DX7. And I got on my number 3 port. And then so right here, you can see in the ports, I have this thing. It says DX7. I just named it. You can name it whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. And then on properties, I just don't really do anything here. I just name it there. Pick it an icon, whatever you want. And I just hit apply. And then you just take these little doodads. I'll show you. You just cut it. Go. Boop. See how it kind of comes out. And you just connect it like so. And whatever port you're connected to. So, and that's all you have to do. And then because you do that, and you saw that the port number, it said DX7. That's where this comes up here. It says, and it won't say MIDI in MIDI 3, but it'll say DX7. That's what I have. So you get that, okay? You say okay, and boom, I'm done. So now the cool thing about this DeX is I can go in right now when I play a sound from it. It's the sound from DeX. Now to get the sound from my DX7, I'll solo this out, and this is just my normal. This is what it will sound like normally. So I have the same sound from DeX, and all I do is I just basically go into cart mode where that sound was, and I just right click on what, and I'll just say send program to blah 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 DX7, and it'll shoot it over in the MIDI, and it'll go and go in there within like a brief second. I mean, because you got to think about it, a kilobyte, 1024. And then how many kilobytes make a megabyte? 1024. You have this thing right here. It's a DEX6 file, and this is for a bank of 32. And it's only 4K, 4 kilobytes. So what did we say what 1 kilobyte was? 1024 times 4. So you're thinking, so out of that patch there, you're talking a fraction of that amount. You're talking in the bit level. Computer going into an old keyboard, the transfers just like that. So, FYI, I'm not going to pay any money for those ROM cards that are like $90 on Greenbay. F that, man. I'm not doing that. What I do is like this. This is free. This is great. I can store programs in this. And the cool thing is I could change sounds on here. I don't even have to mess with that thing over there. So it's great. Awesome. It was this heavy Moog sound that I sent over earlier. That's what you heard on the thing. And so when I play it from my keyboard, oh, I got the reverb on. Hold on. Let's take the reverb off. So I just want to hear it dry. That's what it sounds like. It's in mono. I mean, that's a really good sound. It's like a emulation of a Moog, but it has that FM kind of growl to it. And it's cool because still it's kind of like, what the heck kind of synthesizer is this? Where you got your F values, and it's hardcore FM synthesis. So it's really going to take some used to, because I'm used to like your normal attack, decay, release, and and FM synthesis is kind of backwards. This is what it sounds like. It's really great sound. Now, here's what I did with it. When I told you can make some really gnarly, nasty sounds with Logic and the DX7, cool. All right, so this is what I did. Step one is, remember I said it's mono. So I like stereo. I like that wide sound. So we were able to take care of that with a trick here. When you have two identical sounds that are hard pan, hard left, it's just going to still double up, and it's not really going to sound good. What you want to do is you want a slight difference in one sound and a slight difference in the other sound, so that way you don't get some weird phasing issue where they're canceling each other out. So that's why you want the sounds to be slightly off. And the trick here is Logic has this wonderful thing called a P shifter, and I'm using two of them. And I've done this in MIDI videos before, but I'll kind of go over it quickly. I have one set for -9 and one set for 14. And then, there's no, the mix, I actually upped the mix to like 50%. Now, I've tried it with like, 100%, it just sounds like crap. So 50% is a good value. You could actually probably lower it down if you wanted to. So there's a sweet spot. It's like between 30 and 50. So for today, I'm going to leave it at 50. And that's the only difference in the pitching is right there. Is a synth level pitching, not semitone. So I'm not really doing that much, but it's just enough to make that much of a difference when you do your panning. So we'll go ahead and enable these. You can say, now here's the other cool thing about the new version of Logic. I think I'm using 10.3 or something. They added this new feature in there. You could do where you could select this panning or binaural panning. Oh my gosh. I think what happened was, it's like the earlier version of Logic, when you did panning, it didn't really give you a true sense of panning. Like it didn't really sound right. And I think it was like a bug from what I remember reading. And so they fixed it by doing this. That's what I did. I picked this it's panning, and then on my bus, I took both. So what you do is you just highlight the both track. And you just do create track stack, come up with a thing, you say summing stack, and you do that. Okay, and that's what I did. And then both of them will automatically go to a bus, and which is, bus 2, and then bus 2 is right here, and you can see it's like that. So now you're asking, what does it sound like now? Yeah, it's really cool. So I'll play a little bit of it. It's just by doing this has just, and this is coming from the Real DX7. This is not the DeXed. Okay, so I have it muted. Note it. Okay, this is audio in from what I showed you earlier. So here we go. Yeah, that's really cool. Just a really good, gnarly sound. Now, you notice, I don't know if it's something wrong with the... Now, I do remember that they were talking about that the power supplies on these units will actually go out. And so I think that's what's happening. So you'll hear there's like a record popping sound, like a little pop, like as I hold it longer. It's not so noticeable in this one. There, it's like a little bit over on this side or something. But it's just a little tiny, it sounds like someone's playing a record, and it's just like hitting that needle's just hitting it, just kind of just a little slight pop. And so that little slight pop or click or crack that you hear is actually coming from the DX7. I actually like it because it kind of sounds like, gives it that dirty kind of, old record kind of sound. It's like, what's the word I'm looking for? A bit crusher kind of thing. But It's actually a flaw with the power supply, because this thing is freaking old as hell, and the power supply is going out, and because of that, what happens is some of the capacitors get old, and they just they can't keep up with all the crap I'm pushing through. So you're gonna get that's another thing. So, but I still like it because it's like it's a dirty sound, and that's the whole reason why I got it, because anyways, I'm super excited. You can tell, tweaked up. Now the other thing I forgot to show you was on my mixer, I upped the bass. It's like a 3-level EQ. I gave it a little bit of gain, the high or whatever. When you EQ from the mixer level, you get a better mix than you do it from Logic. And further in my career in music and stuff, that I find that plugins have their place, but so do equipment. And when you can find that right balance, you make a ton of money. What's next here? So what I did now is then I added a modulation delay, I added a bit crusher, and then I added some distortion and reverb. So let's go ahead and we'll do the reverb. So what am I using for reverb? Reverb, I'm using this thing called Lex Clone Verb or something like that. So let me explain what this is. This here is a concert setting. I used to have this Lexicon reverb. I guess they make really great reverb settings. I took Logic's reverb and I just kind of went through a bunch of settings. And I said, man, this one right here sounds exactly identical to a Lexicon. I mean, and then I took an EQ, and how I got it was I freaking EQ'd the hell out of it and gave it, a really big lift and cut out the highs and lows, and I was able to get something really almost right on by kind of just messing with it for a while, and a little bit of limiter. You don't have to use a limiter, but I find that sometimes when you EQ it really heavily, sometimes it'll peak, and so that's why I put the limiter on. So when I put it through with the EQ, here we go. Okay, so that's with the EQ. Now, here's where it gets kind of interesting, is the modulation delay. So I put the modulation delay at a really low setting, like 18%, because it was just enough to give it just something that I felt like was kind of missing. And it's just a default setting. You just go up and you just pick modulation delay. And I didn't even, the only thing I did was I just, and I just kind of found that was a nice little sweet spot. So here we go, modulation delay. I don't even know if you can really notice it. Awesome. Now, next thing I added was a bit crusher. Yes. So I was like, I had the idea. It's like, man, it already sounds like it has a bit crusher on it because it's such a dirty sound. But what if I added a little bit more? What if I added, just a little bit more, just kind of take it over the edge. So I had this setting that I created a long time ago. It's a 50% mix. It's called Monster Lead Bit Crush or something like that. And it has a 10% drive, 12-bit resolution, and only 1 downsampling. But it's a great kind of thing for like a pre-distortion setting or something like that you could use on a guitar, and I really liked what it did. So here it is with the bit crusher. Yeah, so it kind of it emphasized that especially when you went on to the bass notes, you really hear that gnarliness just coming out. It's just growling really mean. It's like waking up, man. The monster's waking up. So, hence the name Monster Lead, and so now the next thing I added in was a pedal. Now, why this one pedal here? Out of all the pedals that Logic have for distortion, or pretty much all the distortion that Logic has, I think this one is the best one. I don't know what they use to model this thing, but I love this thing. Yeah, I'll use a lot of different distortions, but I just find that this is my to-go one. It's called Grit, and it just kicks, man. It just freaking kicks. I just love the distortion, the tone of this distortion. It just sounds great. And you can see I got a little bit of filter, and my volume is like right there. I don't have it all jacked up, and I got a little bit of distortion, so it's kind of like I tweaked it a little bit, have it enabled. Now let's go turn this on, and you'll hear this guy, and it's just this is where the gnarly nastiness comes in. Here we go. Nasty. Yes, nasty. Oh, man, I love it. That's cool. I just, you can tell, I love this music stuff. First of all, I just want to say thank you, guys. I'm now up to 3,500 almost subscribers. It's one of those things where I'm thankful for you guys because it's something that gives me something other than the normal grind, and it's something I can go home to and say I love, and I'm happy because of the music and the support. I don't want to get all mushy, but hey, that's what it is. So thank you. And I'm being called. So that being said, remember, my friends, be groovy. Yeah.